Imagine waking up in your homeland, only to be told you're a stranger there, that your language, your rituals, even your name, no longer belong. You live in silence while the world rewrites your story. This is not fiction. It's the reality of Japan's forgotten indigenous people, the Ainu. Today, we uncover a hidden thread in the fabric of Japan's past, one filled with mystery, resilience, and the quiet strength of survival. Who are the Ainu? Why were they erased? And how are they fighting to be remembered? Stay with us, because this is the story you were never taught in school. Before Japan, the world of the Ainu. Long before Japan was Japan, before there were kimonos, samurai, and skyscrapers, there were the Ainu. Their roots stretch back thousands of years to the Jaman people, hunter-gatherers who roamed the islands of Japan during the Stone Age. But here's where it gets fascinating. The Ainu are genetically and culturally distinct from the majority Yamato Japanese. They spoke a language isolate, meaning it shares no clear link to any known language on Earth. They worshiped the spirit in every tree, river, and bear. This wasn't just a tribe, it was an entire worldview. Think of the Ainu as Japan's version of the Native Americans or the Sami people of Northern Europe, ancient custodians of the land who were pushed aside as the modern state emerged. They hunted deer and salmon, lived in thatched-roof homes called chais, and passed their stories down not in books, but in sung epics called yukar. It was a world without kings, but full of spirits. Animism and the Ainu spiritual world. To the Ainu, the world was alive. They believed in kamui, spiritual beings that inhabited everything. The fire in the hearth, a goddess. The salmon in the river, a divine messenger. The bear, one of the most sacred kamui of all. And this belief led to one of the Ainu's most misunderstood ceremonies, the Ioman, or sending ceremony. A bear cub would be raised by the village, lovingly fed and cared for. Then, in a deeply spiritual ritual, the bear would be sacrificed, not out of cruelty, but as a way to release its spirit back to the gods with gratitude. Think of it like hosting a guest of honor in your home. You prepare them a feast, offer gifts, then respectfully escort them home. To the Ainu, that's what the bear ceremony was. But of course, outsiders saw something very different. From peace to persecution, the Meiji era. The Meiji Restoration in the 1800s brought sweeping change to Japan. The government was building a modern nation, and in doing so, it needed one language, one identity, one narrative. That meant the Ainu had no place. In 1899, Japan passed the Hokkaido Former Aborigines Protection Act. The title sounds generous, but the reality was devastating. The Ainu were stripped of their land. Their hunting and fishing rights vanished. Their children were forced into Japanese language schools. Traditional tattoos, ceremonies, and even their names were outlawed. Their sacred traditions were now backward superstitions. Their stories? Erased from the books. Imagine if tomorrow, speaking your mother tongue became illegal. If your grandmother's lullabies were banned. If your family name was changed by law. That's what the Ainu lived through for generations. Invisible in plain sight, 20th century silence. By the mid-20th century, most Japanese people didn't even know the Ainu still existed. And many Ainu had stopped identifying as Ainu, out of fear, shame, or simple survival. There's the story of an Ainu man in Hokkaido who grew up thinking he was simply different. Kids teased him for his curly hair and facial features. Only in his 30s did he learn the truth. His parents had hidden their identity to protect him. This wasn't a rare case. It was the norm. Entire generations grew up with no idea they were descended from a people who once worshipped the wind and sang to the stars. Rising from the ashes, the modern revival. But silence doesn't mean surrender. In the 1970s and 80s, activists began to rise. One man stood at the forefront, Shigeru Keano. The first Ainu to serve in Japan's parliament, Keano was a warrior of culture. He revived language classes, published dictionaries, and preserved oral stories that would have otherwise vanished forever. In 2008, Japan finally recognized the Ainu as an indigenous people. And in 2019, the government passed a law to support Ainu culture. The Upopoy Museum opened its doors in Hokkaido, part cultural center, part memorial. But critics say a museum is not a movement. The Ainu today, fighting for the future. Today, there are fewer than 25,000 people in Japan who identify as Ainu, and even fewer fluent speakers of the language. But change is happening. Young Ainu are relearning Ainu Itak, their language. Designers are reimagining traditional clothing with a modern twist. Musicians are mixing Ainu chants with hip-hop. TikTokers are using the platform to teach Ainu words to the world. This is more than preservation. It's reclamation. And they're not just telling their story to Japan, they're telling it to the world. What the Ainu teach us. The Ainu story is a scar on Japan's history, but also a symbol of strength. They teach us that culture is fragile, but not easily destroyed. Erasure is powerful, but so is memory. You can silence a voice, but not a spirit. The Ainu are like an ember buried in ash, flickering, quiet, but still burning. And now, finally, that ember is becoming fire again. If you've never heard of the Ainu before, you're not alone. But now that you have, share this story. Let ripple. Let echo. Because no people should be forgotten. No culture should be erased. And no ember should be left without wind.